Welcome to Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada, and the set of Stargate SG-1. I'm Richard Dean Anderson.
And I'm Brad Wright, executive producer of Stargate SG-1. This is the Gate Room, where we shoot our show. What we're going to do is take you on a behind-the-scenes look of Stargate SG-1. We're going to have interviews with cast and crew, and you're going to get a look at the show that you've never seen before.
Where do you want to start?
Well, why don't we start at the beginning?
Such a writer.
I know.
Colonel Jack O'Neill?
Retired.
I'm Major Samuels. I'm under orders to bring you to see General Hammond, sir.
Never heard of him.
He replaced General West. He says it's important. Has to do with the Stargate.
I got a call from John Symes, who was president of MGM, and he talked to me about this title that he had, Stargate, and this concept that they were trying to make into a television series. And actually, his pitch to me over the phone made a lot of sense, because it sounded like it would make a good TV series. Actually, a broader and more interesting series than the actual movie.
The thing that intrigued me about the original Stargate movie was that it took a concept that had been batted about a lot by people, by science fiction people in particular, that ancient Egypt was partially built or completely built by aliens. The Stargate movie actually took that theory and turned it into a science fiction movie, which I thought was a lot of fun. I wish I had thought of it.
When I found out that they were planning on doing Stargate, I approached MGM on my own and said, I'd really love to write that as that pilot as part of my deal. Jonathan had also approached MGM and said, I'd really, really love to do this project. So John Symes, the clever man that he is, decided to make us partners. So he called us each individually and said, how do you guys like to do it together? And we said, great, because we loved working together.
John just called me and said, I want you to do this project. And I said, well, what is it? And he said they had, MGM had purchased the rights to the Stargate franchise, and that they were developing a series, and that he wanted me to be a part of it. So I looked at the movie a couple of times and saw great potential for a series, for a franchise, because of all the elements involved in it. So I kind of signed on for it. It was originally supposed to be a 2-year gig. Showtime had ordered up 44 episodes. Middle of the first season, they ordered another 44, so the ball started rolling successfully pretty early on. But that, my involvement was by request.
I told him that, well, you know, if we're going to try and get Rick involved, then he's going to have a lot more leeway with the character.
I had to make sure that they were willing to put up with, well, in this case, endure my sense of humor and bring it in, somehow infiltrate it into the character subtly or with a sledgehammer.
Lucy, I'm home.
I am not Lucy.
Oh, for crying out loud, will you just open the door?
Once all the pieces were put into place to create the series, the biggest task still lay before us, and that was to create a story that stayed true to the feature, but was unique in its own way. And I think we pulled it off.
Well, it wasn't without its challenges.
To get the ball rolling and to execute the vision that we all had for the series was sizing up to be a pretty monumental task, because Stargate is a heavily visual effects laden show.
The movie ended with Daniel Jackson stuck on Abydos, and Jack O'Neill having left the military, and everything kind of shut down. So the fun thing about the pilot was actually having the Stargate mothballed and figuring out that it goes other places, and figuring out how to get Daniel Jackson back, because he was a wonderful character that we wanted to keep alive. So that's what we set about to do, and we wrote a pilot basically about that, about getting Jack O'Neill back into the military, getting Daniel Jackson back to Earth, and discovering that the gate goes other places.
Permission to take a team through the Stargate, sir.
Consider yourself recalled to active duty, Colonel.
The one thing that we knew we'd have to do is create this cartouche that that showed that there were hundreds of Stargates out there. And we stayed true to the myth that the Stargate was used to pull humans through the wormhole to other planets as slaves.
Good choice, Teal'c. Perfect specimen.
For the pilot, we were actually shooting in the largest soundstage in North America because we had such massive sets to put up. And the Stargate facility itself is 2 stories tall, and it's got all these different levels. And the Stargate itself is 22 feet tall, so the set has, in order to shoot up at it with a camera, the set has to be almost twice that tall. So we pulled off some pretty big stuff there, and we had an amazing team behind us doing it.
I remember Michael Shanks and I walking in and seeing the Stargate for the very first time. My God, look at this. Wait, the energy the gate must release to create a stable wormhole, it's astronomical, to use exactly the right word. Just walking in and suddenly seeing this Stargate, I mean, we both sort of went, wow, this is huge. You can actually see the fluctuations in the event horizon. We were actually quite blown away.
Oddly enough, the original Stargate from the feature had been stored out in the desert outside in California, and had completely fallen apart, disintegrated.
It was junk at that point, but it was still being stored. And what I was able to get from it was I'd give it to our sculptors, and we could at least pull a mold off of it for all of the detail in it. We didn't have to start from scratch and sculpting a mold. So we built our own Stargate.
Our guys had to actually engineer a Stargate that would actually work. Now, I mean, it doesn't have a wormhole that goes to other planets, but it actually turns, the chevrons actually lock. It's completely computer controlled, so we can actually program in addresses, and the right ones would go to the right place.
There's a 30-foot gear inside of that thing. So every time it spins, in 4 seasons, that chevron thing has never missed. It's computer operated now. We can turn it anywhere, and it locks on a dime. So our special effects people did a great job in putting that part together.
Clearly, a huge part of the appeal of Stargate SG-1 is the action and the visual effects of the show. But I think all of that would be meaningless if it wasn't for the strong ensemble cast that we have.
Which I believe is the most important element of all movie making.
I think it's clearly the most important thing.
Yes. Yes, the cast.